It is Newstalk KGVO 1290 AM and 101.5 FM with the Last Best Beer Show and your host, Ryan Newhouse.
Cheers, Missoula. Really excited to be back again this week to talk about beer and all the great things that go with it. Man, we've got a lot of new stuff to talk about for this week and new beers on tap, and we got some great interviews lined up. But let me just start with some great beer that you can get right now that is one's my new favorite and the other one will be my new favorite. So if you head down to Imagination Brewing, just this week they tapped a new beer called Good for Something American Pale Ale, and it honors one of our great Americans, Henry David Thoreau. And they have a great little Thoreau quote that goes with this, and he said, "Be not simply good, be good for something."
You know, Imagination Brewing, they always come up with something philosophical and smart.
You're right.
And even though that's a great story, I just want to try the beer.
Oh, they are smart. They are good. And well, I have had a sneak peek of this beer. I had it about a week ago. And it was around the time of the Business and Brews that we did. And it is fantastic. It is a really good beer. So I'm excited that they got that tapped on. My new favorite beer, too, that I discovered this week is out of Belt, Montana. Harvest Moon Brewing. It's a great little stop, and especially if you've got the Montana Brewery Passport. Several people make it up there. But they started bottling a nut brown ale. You can get it at Warden's in a 6-pack for $8.99, and it's fantastic. It's not as heavy as a porter, or it's a brown. It's way different than Moose Drool, which is a popular brown ale. But
and women may prefer that.
Absolutely. I like it. There's a lot of complexity to it. It's not hoppy, but it's very good. But yeah, look for that from Harvest Moon, and it's a great beer. But if you want to just go out and have some fun and do some fun stuff, the Holiday Beer Fest, there's one more day of that. It lasts until December 12th. And you can get that down at the Dram Shop. They've got 6 different rotating taps that are going to feature 14 different holiday beers. There's a big list. You can find it on our Facebook. You can find it on the Dram Shop Facebook. You can get 6 5-ounce pours for $12, or if you want a cool little piece of glassware for $10, you get 2 16-ounce pours, and you get to keep the glass. So it's pretty sweet.
And remember, they have kombucha on tap as well as toddy iced coffee, which are some of my faves.
Yes, they do. And wine, and you can fill all that stuff up and take it to go.
It really is a one-stop shop.
It is. They're doing it right. And if you do that on the 12th, on Saturday, Sunday the 13th, head back over to Imagination Brewing, because they're debuting their weekly Sunday Jazz Night. And every Sunday, 6 to 8 p.m., they have jazz music, jazz session, and some of the local talented musicians.
Love jazz.
I do too. Music and beer.
My grandma played the saxophone, so I'm a big. I like jazz. I wish I could have played that.
I had to make the decision when I was a young man which musical instrument, and it was really between the saxophone and the violin. The violin won out, and I played that through college, but the saxophone was always a place in my heart.
Well, let's go check out some jazz. We'll have a few, and maybe they'll let us try out the saxophone.
Yes, that's it. We can bribe them. Maybe we buy their beers. But indeed, I'm excited. We got a great show coming up. We're just about to talk to Mike Elliott from Phillipsburg Brewing Company, and then after that, later in the show, we're going to catch up with the folks from the Thomas Marbar and what they've got going on. So stay tuned. Let's get Mike in here. I'm joined this week in the studio by Mike Elliott, head brewer of Phillipsburg Brewing Company, who came over to spend some time and share some beer with us. And Mike, thanks so much for coming in.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, man. I'm glad to be here.
We love Phillipsburg beer, and we love to get it every chance we get in Missoula, but also to drive over to Phillipsburg. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing over in Phillipsburg, and a little bit of the history of the brewery, and where people can find some of your beer around town.
Well, the list where you can find it is growing all the time. We just completed a major expansion, a new 50-barrel brew house. And so I think we have 100 accounts in the Butte, Missoula area right now, and we're continuing to grow that on-premise accounts. And just this week, we released some of our new packaged beer, and you can find that in Town Pump and Albertsons.
Excellent, excellent. So how long has Phillipsburg Brewing Company existed?
We started brewing beer in 2012, but the company itself has been around since the early 90s.
Okay.
One of the owners, Rob Jarvis, purchased a bunch of brewing equipment and a building in Phillipsburg in 1992, and then sort of put the project on hold for quite some time. And I came around in 2012 after working at the Kettle House for a couple of years, and they needed somebody that could put it together and get it running, and that was me.
You have a beautiful location right there, corner building, gorgeous old historic building.
Thank you.
And I love coming over. And then when I definitely get a lot of feedback with the Montana Brewery Passport, that people that travel through there and get their stamp at your brewery, like that's the big comment, is how beautiful that space is.
You know, it's so funny. None of us are designers, and we didn't have a plan or a theme when we were putting the place together. I sort of worked on the equipment side, and my bosses worked on the tap room side, and it all just blended so well, so naturally. It was really nice to see it come out that way.
Gorgeous. And I assume you still have that beautiful copper strip on your bar?
You know, it's so funny. That's probably the thing that people comment most on. You know, they say, oh, the building's cute and the town is cute and the beer's really good, but do you feel this thing in the bar? It's cold.
It's cold. It's awesome. It's the first one I had ever seen there, and it's just a place to put your pint glass or your glass, and it is. It's going to keep it cold.
Yep, exactly.
It's really nice.
It frosts up a little bit in the wintertime when the humidity's low, and in the summertime, people come in, you know, off the street on a 100-degree day and put their faces on it. And yeah, it's a nice little feature.
So what are you brewing over there? Like, what are your seasonals? What are your mainstays? And what's the popular choice?
Well, we've got the capability of serving 14 beers at the pub, and right now we're building that inventory. We're doing a new set of seasonals right now, a series of English beers.
Okay.
We've started out with a bitter on nitro, real easy drinking, 3.5%, called Gins Bitter. It's really good. And we've got an English mild coming out this week, also very low alcohol, 3.5 or so, but almost no bitterness.
Okay.
And we're going to be doing a series of traditional English stouts and porters coming up through the winter months.
Beautiful.
We have sort of a rotating line of seasonals. You know, one of the best parts about being in the small brewery is that you can sort of experiment, play around, do a lot of different recipes, and always have something new coming out. So that's kind of our winter mode.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a good one. You get equal traffic summer and winter. I mean, you're near Discovery Ski Area, and you got Georgetown Lake, you got ice fishing, but you also have some great summer activities and fishing. Like, is there any sort of dead period ever in Phillipsburg?
Yeah, you know, winter's great. It's not nearly as busy as the summertime. We get several 100,000 visitors through Phillipsburg. We're just about halfway between Glacier and Yellowstone, so it's a popular stop for tourists that are visiting both parks. Our quietest months are probably November and April.
Okay.
Their classic shoulder season.
That makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah. Well, of those couple 100,000 people, I'm sure they're all coming through the brewery. Like, that's the real main
It seems like it. I tell you what. Yeah.
Maybe a few get candy at the candy store, but
it's a nice 1-2 punch. Yeah, a little beer and a little chocolate.
Beer is always my candy of choice.
There you go.
That's it. So you guys now open 2012. Here we are at the end of 2015, and you've gone through. Is this your first expansion in the years, or?
Well, sort of. We added fermentation capacity in the pub brewery in 2013 after about 9 months of operation. We could just see the writing on the wall that we needed to get more beer out there, and we filled that space to capacity. We can do about 900 barrels a year out of the little brewery.
Okay.
And the response to the beer was just so overwhelming and so positive that we decided to do a real major expansion. And in April of this year, we started work on our new facility at Granite Waterworks. It's actually the site of the original brewery in Phillipsburg from the 1870s.
Wow, very cool. Neat little piece of history. I got this hot off the press from Phillipsburg. The big news is the new packaging that you have, and then you have a 50-barrel system. Is that's a separate brewery system than you have in the pub.
That's right. So we're running 2 different brew houses in 2 different buildings. Yeah.
Okay. And so you have a 50-barrel system that's now part of the Springs, which is what you guys are calling your new place.
Exactly. Yeah. It's built on the building's on top of a really cool mineral spring complex. It produces about 300 gallons a minute of really beautiful, high-quality mineral water.
Oh, wow.
It's too hard and alkaline to brew with.
Okay.
So we still use our city water source, which is a blend of the spring water and surface water from a really beautiful alpine lake behind town.
Okay.
But the spring complex there is really pretty amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So the new packaging and that I'm so excited about, and you brought some in the studio, and we'll get to these and we'll look at them. And but just to be able to describe this to listeners who aren't seeing this right now, it is a 16-ounce aluminum bottle would be the correct term, not a can, and it has a screw top on it. We will put some pictures up on our Facebook and our YouTube channel, but tell me about the process of picking this design of an aluminum bottle that you don't see that often.
Sure. Well, as far as I know, we're the only craft brewery in the country that is using these bottles at a production level. When we decided that we wanted to get into packaging, we knew that aluminum was the way to go for all the reasons that cans are so popular here in the state. You know?
So you protect against light infiltration. You can usually get less oxygen in a can versus a bottle.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. They're so portable, handy for all the outdoor stuff that we all like to do, you know, whether it's fishing or hiking or whatever. But we saw some major disadvantages in the can. You know, once you open it, it's open. When I'm floating, so much beer ends up in the bottom of the boat. It's so upsetting. And so for me, a clumsy person, it's really handy to be able to put these lids back on. So we looked around at a lot of different designs. Big Sky used to have the old pop-top aluminum bottles.
They did.
And we investigated those extensively, and then we settled on these Alumitech bottles from Ball with the reclosable lids, because they really are just a fantastic, usable package and unique at the same time.
Yep. I remember those Big Sky Brewing bottles, and I think at some point they just became cost prohibitive, and there were some supply issues. But then even with that, they did not have the feature which yours here do, which is that reclosable lid. And for all those reasons, and they're just beautiful too.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the Tramway IPA that we have here today is just such a classy looking classic label. It really turned out beautiful on these bottles.
It is. So what can we expect to see in cans? Are you going to go with your mainstays or just a few, and then maybe some seasonal things?
Just a couple. We're starting with the Tramway, and then in March we're going to be introducing our Otterwater Session Pale Ale. Mm-hmm. And then it's hard to say after that. You know, we're kind of testing the market with our draft beers right now, see what people think is popular and what they like. Okay. We're looking at maybe Hefeweizen as a year-round offering. Mm-hmm. But the seasonal question is difficult. There's the minimum orders on these bottles are astronomical, huge, something like 150,000 units.
Oh, wow.
To get a label printed.
Sure.
And so we have to make sure that whatever goes into these is going to be something that makes sense for us in terms of production levels.
Yeah, that does make sense. And what would be an average price point? I see we have a 4-pack for 16-ounce cans.
Yep, 4-pack of pints is going to be right about $8.99 in most of your stores. So right along with the other 4-pack pints that you see out there for Montana craft brewers.
Yes, excellent. Well, good. I mean, it's hard to even consider this a question of saying like, what's next? Because you're right now, you just did something. But what would be the outlook in the next 3-5 years if you guys have even considered that question?
Well, you know, we try and look ahead as much as possible. It's so hard to say where the market is going to go. I hope that people like the package and like the beer, and we're just going to have to listen to the customers and see what they want. You know, I would love to keep growing and fill up our new building with tanks and equipment and really blow the roof off the thing. You know, that's absolutely the goal for me.
Awesome.
More beer is always better.
Well, if anybody can do it, I believe you guys can there at Phillipsburg. And I really appreciate you guys coming in and sharing beer, but sharing your time and sharing this good news. And we certainly wish you good luck.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Stay with us here on Newstalk KGVO 1290 AM and 101.5 101.5 FM for the Last Best Beer Show. This is Ryan Newhouse. Here's a word from our sponsors.
Love craft beer and want to learn how to brew your own? Take this online course to get insider tips from Montana brewers and top secret recipes for local favorites.
It's Newstalk KGVO 1290 and 101.5 FM with the one and only Last Best Beer Show with your host, Ryan Newhouse.
Thank you very much, Shireen, and welcome back to the Last Best Beer Show. We've had a very important year this year, 2015, as far as craft breweries go, and we just got news from the U.S. Brewers Association that at the end of November, we now have the most number of breweries we've ever had. Yes. Coming in at 4,144 breweries at the end of November 2015. That has topped the historic high. Yes, beautiful. Previously, the record was 4,131. And do you know, there's a little trivia, do you know what year that previous record was set in?
I'm going to say 2012.
Okay, wrong. You're off by more than a century.
Oh, gosh.
Yep.
No way.
Yeah. We're talking back in 1873. We had 4,131 breweries.
Those
Cheers
were the days.
for history.
Those were the days.
Yes.
The good days.
And if you can imagine, like, none of this stuff was really being distributed anywhere. Like, you brewed the beer and people came to you and they drank it in your establishment or your bar. But now we're making a lot of beer and we're getting in a lot of places. But it's pretty darn cool. Also of note for 2015, we've set this record, but the rate at which breweries are opening right now are more than 2 a day in the United States. So more than
smokes.
2 new breweries every single day coming up there. We have 15 states that are now home to more than 100 breweries. So 15 states in the U.S. have more than 100. We are at 62 in Montana, so we're creeping up there.
Come on, Montana. Come on. What? What's up with that?
Do it right. Do it right. Get more. Get more. Absolutely. So it's pretty cool. And what we're seeing right now, the number one, here's another trivia question. Do you know what the top beer producing state is in the country for 2015? Which state's producing the most beer?
Wisconsin.
Oh, that's a good guess, but wrong. It is Pennsylvania.
Oh, you know,
Yep.
I'm a big Steelers fan. And I know
Oh,
those
yes.
guys
It was
down
tricky.
in the Berg, man, they drink that beer like it is water. Straight
Yes.
IV to them, I'll tell you what.
And you're saying you don't?
Oh, yeah, I do too.
Yes, yeah.
But I guarantee you, I've had beer from Pennsylvania. I've got many friends from there, and I would put Montana's beer up against them any single day.
Oh,
and most of
absolutely.
them request cold smoke when they come over. So,
Yep.
I mean, I feel like we have a hand on them. So,
They know how to do it. Well, we just talked to Gary Gagliardi from Missoula Brewing Company, and he came over from Pennsylvania, from Stouts Brewing, and brought his trade to us. But yeah, Pennsylvania producing 4.1 million barrels of beer, and a barrel is about close to 33 gallons.
maybe that's why a lot of people stay over there.
That's
They're
right.
too drunk to leave.
I was going to say maybe if you drink enough, it makes your team look better.
I don't even have to ask how many Super Bowls, but we'll get out of here. That's for a few more beers later, folks.
That's for a few more years. So, yes, well, congratulations to us and all of us for supporting 4,144 breweries. It's very exciting, indeed. Cool. We're going to talk to the Thomas Marbar here next and see what they're up to. So stay tuned. We're back, and we're going to talk with Doug Ford, the bar manager of the Thomas Marbar. We've got him on the line, and they've got a lot of cool stuff going on. But Doug, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, most definitely.
Awesome. Good.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let me ask the most obvious question. How many people come in to the Marbar and try to figure out how you're supposed to say it, and it's not meager or any of that kind of stuff? Do you get that, or am I just making it up?
No, we get that. That's I hear it mostly, not so much people asking, but people just at the bar saying it. Especially I'm not going like, we're at the Thomas, how do you spell it? Yeah, it is the Thomas Marbar.
The Marbar. And then,
They say meager or meher, which is a little more appropriate than meager.
okay, yep. But it's all history. It's a cool place. I love the story of the name and how important Thomas Marbar or Thomas Mar was. And but I'm going to let people do their own research. We don't have to get into that because I want to talk about drinking and eating at your establishment. So I don't know, where would I start? Like, tell us a little bit about the Marbar Marbar and what you guys specialize in.
Yeah, so the Thomas Marbar, we are kind of, I'll just dabble in the history a little bit.
Okay.
Thomas Marr, obviously the governor of Montana back in the governing territories, and from Ireland, so we're an Irish bar meeting Montana, so the name fits the type of bar we are.
Mm-hmm.
Do mostly, we have Irish beers, which we carry Smithwick's, Guinness, Murphy's, Boddington's, a few other pub ales that most Irish bars in town don't carry, so we do that Irish stuff, and we also do Montana beers too, where we do some of the local stuff to kind of infuse them together, where we have Irish and Montana localization happening. We do a drink called the Black and Tan, which everybody does, but we have a twist on it. We call it Black and Montana. So we use Plug to Draftworks there with an optional pale ale with Guinness on top. So we use a bottom of local beer with Irish beer on top. So
awesome.
Kind of a fun little twist on a beer that most people carry and or most bars serve as a Black and Tan.
Yep. So the fun in drinking a Black and Tan, though, is to get to the beer at the bottom, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Chase it down.
So there's a couple different folklores on how the Black and Tan's name came about. So
yeah, and just in case someone's listening and they don't know exactly where you are, tell us where you're at, where you're located downtown.
We're down on 130 West Pine Street, which is right off of between Ryman and Higgins.
Yep.
By the City Hall down there, cop shop area. Bus station is a pretty key area for most people. So,
and the business before you was Sean Kelly's. So they've been familiar with that name. Yep.
The owners like to say the unmentionable, but
yeah. Just a point of reference.
But yes, it is exactly. It's a great point of reference. It is the same exact location.
Yep, good deal. Well, sticking with beer and Montana beer for a minute, there is a little bit of a connection between the Marbar and a Billings brewery. Can you tell us that?
Yeah, we got Hooligans FC, which is also another Irish pub over in Billings, and Montana Brew Company. The owners, Sean and Mike and John, are now the also owners of our bar. So
excellent.
There is a little bit of a connection, obviously, by the ownership.
Yep.
There isn't much similarity between like how the menus are presented, though. So it's kind of we are our own thing. So
okay. Have you brought over any, or has Sean brought over any Montana Brewing Company beers to put on tap yet?
I was expecting it to happen, but it hasn't happened.
Not yet.
So,
okay.
Not yet. Yep. It's a little bit of a travel. When they sell enough of their beers where if they were trying to push it out of another bar, I don't know if they could keep up with it. So it would be one of those things where we would get people hooked and then maybe not have the capacity to keep on maintaining that amount of beer in.
Yep.
And so
that's a good point. Maybe I know Sean, and
hopefully one of these days, once the capacity levels get higher, we can get some other beers over.
Cool. Maybe we'll come up with a special event for Missoula Craft Beer Week too. That we could feature.
I would love to do that.
Yeah, that'd be something fun. And you guys hosted one of the golf holes that we did for last year's Missoula Craft Beer Week. We have a fundraising event for the Missoula Food Bank, and you guys hosted a hole.
Sean kind of spearheaded that.
Yep.
Sean Graves, one of the owners, he kind of got that on board. I was hoping to have a little more to do with the event itself, but it's a big event and things move fast, and so sounded like everybody had a good time though.
Indeed. Well, speaking of events and good times, I was with you here this last Monday for the Beard and Mustache Contest. And those who know me maybe have seen my glitter beard. Maybe I'll put a picture up on Facebook so people can see that.
Most definitely. I forgot to get a picture of you, but I know a few people snapping them away.
They were out there. I tell you, I think I was the crowd favorite, though. I had so many ladies come up, and strangers, and take a picture with me that they liked it. But
if it's the glitter beard phenomenon, I think it's you're being a trendsetter, and it might take over.
I'll take it. Tell us about that event though, and will you do it again, and what was it a benefit for?
I would love to do it again. It started off as Jameson Black Barrel. It's one of their new whiskey lines that they've put out, which is a a twice charred barreled Irish whiskey from Jameson.
Which was
Matt
delicious.
Warner, the representative, came up to me, and they were doing nationwide a big push on just mustaches and men's health and awareness. And we just kind of talked, and we're like, oh, it's fun to do a competition with mustaches and stuff. Excuse me. And so we talked about it, and then got a hold of a few other people. Alton from Montana, he is actually an ex-vet. Him and I started talking because I liked his logo with the beard on the state of Montana.
Yep.
He works for the Chamber of Commerce, and he was like, oh, you know, I wasn't sure which way to do the nonprofit. I was like, oh, we should do it men's health, or... And he's like, well, it's Veterans Day coming up. This is before Veterans Day had happened. And he's like, what do you think about doing kind of a vet thing? It's, you know, Veterans Day is coming up, and it's November. Veterans love beards because they have to shave every day of their life until they're out of service.
That's true.
And I was like, heck yeah, let's do that. And
Yeah.
so we got a hold of him, and then he got a hold of a guy named Brian from the Master Barber of Missoula.
Love him. He
And
does
we
my
all just
hair.
Kind of, it snowballed faster than I was expecting, and grew into something that I would love to do again. I hope this was the first annual. We'll make it a yearly thing.
That'd be fun. Maybe we can get Last Best Beer Show in there to help out, and I'll keep my beard for it.
As things go, the more events, the longer the event runs, the more sponsorships and
Awesome.
kickbacks. But we had some good stuff. We had good prizes. We gave $100 away for the first place winner. My life may or may not have been threatened based on who I chose to win.
Uh-oh.
But it was a 3-person panel, so I wasn't fully to blame.
There you go. Pass it off. Pass it off.
Yeah. It was a great time. It was all for a good cause, and that was really what the whole point of it was. So
Awesome.
Everybody realized that and left a smile.
That's it. That's the important part. You had fun. Hey, all right. Before we sign off here, I want you to give me a maybe your most authentic or favorite Irish food dish and beer pairing that you guys have there at the Marbar. So when people are listening, they're ready to go get some dinner. What's your recommendation?
Yeah, well, Chef Dan in the kitchen, he has worked for probably a year before the Marbar opened on his fish and chips recipe, which sounds very basic, but getting the breading on that to be a perfect crispness where it is right now took him a while. So I would definitely recommend trying our fish and chips.
Okay.
You can do that in a half size or a full size, depending on how hungry you are. That is a cold smoke battered batter.
Ooh, Kettle House cold smoke.
Yeah, from Kettle House. So we carry cold smoke, so I mean that would almost be a no-brainer to pair that with a cold smoke, or possibly this time of year a hot toddy.
Oh, you sound like a wise man. I'll give it a try.
Some Jameson in there, and that'd be good.
Oh, perfect. Awesome. Good. Well, Doug Ford, bar manager at the Marbar, go down and say hi to him. And Doug, we really appreciate your time today. And
most
tell us.
definitely.
Yep. Good. Well, cheers, and we'll be down there again soon.
I hope to see you.
All right.
You get all that glitter out of your beard.
It still exists. There's some gold tone in my clothing right now.
I saw some in my backpack. I'm like, how did that glitter get in my backpack?
Awesome. Well, it was another great show. Last Best Beer Show. Always love coming here to you weekly on Newstalk KGVO 101.5 FM, 1290 AM. Please keep listening. We've got some cool stuff coming up in the coming weeks. We've got some very fun interviews. We're going to do some on-site shoots as well, so we can keep you updated with K3, the new Kettle House, and Phillipsburg, and go out there and check out their brewing location as well. But we also have our next Business and Brews ready to go in January, so save the date, Tuesday, January 12th. We're going to be partnering with Kettle House and Black Coffee Roasters for an epic event. Details for signing up and the exact when and where will be announced. Stay tuned on Facebook /Last Best Beer Show. And until next week, cheers, Missoula.
Love craft beer and want to learn how to brew your own? Take this online course to get insider tips from Montana brewers and top secret recipes for local favorites.